Explain to the racers on the call and those of us who don't quite get it, how does the budgeting process work? What's the fiscal year? When is the fiscal year? When are budgets made? Does the marketing department give you a request for how much they're going to get that year? Or do you determine the profits of the company and allocate it to marketing and say, okay, this is what you have to spend? How exactly does that work from the top end down?
Well, there's years ago, there was an established amount, and it seems that it continues to grow with the expected growth of the sales of the company. So if we expect to grow 5 or 10% next year, then that person will be increase that budget. And it's a bottoms up. So the person who's the chief marketing officer, he's got a staff. And as I mentioned before, those individuals are heads of certain departments, off-road, the BMX or the bikes or the skateboards. And so he'll meet with those, and those individuals will say, this is what we would like to have for next year. That all gets put together. It's compared to the prior year spend. And if it's in reason, then it just gets approved. Obviously, there are certain things that are ongoing. As I mentioned, some of the Tiger Woods, he'll get his, allocated his contract each year. The Supercross, the PBRs, the UFCs, all those have a dedicated amount. But there was a big chunk where it's left for, I would say, Matt, where there's over 100 different individuals that we sponsor on a smaller level. And that's the group I think that people would like to get into and say, well, I'm not going to compete with the bigger budget piece, but there's enough money in that one pool where there's a lot of amounts that are going to be dispersed to smaller individuals, somebody who are on the up and coming of that. So
yeah, and I think our typically our pattern is, most of the sponsorships start kind of late summer, August, September. That's where most of the conversations happen. I think another thing, Alex, that's important is really try to forge a personal relationship with your sponsors. Don't do it just via email. Pick up the phone and call. Have video chats. Really develop a relationship, and don't look to your sponsor relationship. Okay, if you get told no by a company, don't give up and continue with that relationship because you don't know. On the flip side, when you have a sponsorship, don't automatically think you're going to have that forever. Continue to foster that relationship. Call them, email them, get on video calls. Keep that open line of communication so they know that you still view them as important.
And that's a really good point. In fact, that's a great segue to a future session, which we're going to have, is keeping sponsors long-term for 20 and 30 years.